You were not born to live in the shadow of who you used to be. You were not created to remain stuck in routines that steal your energy or patterns that keep you repeating the same year over and over again and calling it growth. There comes a moment in life when mediocrity no longer tastes the same, when comfort begins to suffocate you, and a voice inside whispers, "This is not who I really am." That moment is the moment of reinvention. And if you're listening to this right now, that moment has already arrived for you. Maybe life has tested you. Maybe people judged you before they even knew you. Maybe you gave your loyalty to people who didn't deserve your energy. Maybe 2024 wasn't your best year, or maybe it broke you in ways no one saw. But let me tell you something, pain is not the end of your story. Pain is the birthplace of transformation. Reinvention doesn't begin when life is perfect. It begins when you decide enough is enough. This is not just a speech. This is a call, a challenge. A declaration that 2025 is not just another year, it is your turning point, your comeback, your rise. Reinvention is not something that waits for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect alignment of life circumstances. Reinvention begins at the precise moment you decide that who you are today is no longer enough for where you're going. It is a decision born not from comfort, but from a deep internal truth that whispers, or sometimes screams, that you were designed for more. Most people wait for life to force change upon them. They wait for a tragedy, a breakup, a shutdown, a layoff, or a rock bottom moment to finally move. But reinvention does not belong to those who wait for pain as motivation. It belongs to those who take ownership of their future before they are pushed by life. The decision to reinvent yourself is a declaration that you are no longer a prisoner of your past, your habits, your limitations, or your excuses. It is the moment you stop blaming your history and start building your destiny. Every transformation begins with a decision long before any external result appears. Before the body changes, the mind decides to become stronger. Before the business grows, the future entrepreneur decides to commit. Before the relationship improves, a person decides to communicate and evolve. Before the new life appears, the decision is made in silence, in private, in a single moment of courage where the heart takes control of the story. That decision might not be loud, it might not be dramatic, but it is powerful. It is that quiet personal agreement when you say to yourself, "I cannot keep living like this. I cannot keep repeating the same year over and over again and calling it growth. I cannot keep shrinking to fit into places I have outgrown." The decision to reinvent yourself means interrupting your comfort and interrupting your patterns. It means choosing the path of growth even when it demands discipline, sacrifice, patience, and resilience. People often convince themselves that reinvention begins when they get a new job, when they move to a new country, when they find the right mentor, or when life becomes less complicated. But these are external changes. True reinvention starts internally. It is not about what you get, it is about who you become. It is not triggered by opportunities, it creates opportunities. When you decide to reinvent yourself, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for permission, you stop waiting for support, you stop waiting for motivation. You start taking responsibility not only for your future, but for your energy, your presence, your routines, and your results. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop letting fear vote on your decisions. You stop letting your emotions control your destiny. Reinvention in 2025 begins with radical clarity. Clarity about what you want and clarity about what you will no longer tolerate. You must define your standards. You must decide what kind of life you are committed to creating, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. A decision without commitment is just a wish, but a decision backed by daily action becomes transformation. Reinvention is a choice you make every morning when you wake up, not once a year when you feel inspired. It is not a January promise, it is a lifelong practice. And the truth is, there will never be a perfect time to start. Life will always be busy. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be risk. But waiting until conditions feel safe is the fastest way to sabotage your own potential. Comfort is the enemy of greatness, and the longer you stay in comfort, the more you lose your hunger, your ambition, and your purpose. Most people fear reinvention not because they can't change, but because change requires accountability. The moment you decide to reinvent yourself, excuses lose their power, blame loses its voice, doubt loses its hold. You stand face to face with your truth, who you are versus who you could become. And from that moment on, everything changes, because the greatest shift in reinvention is not external, it is internal. The world changes when you change, and the moment you decide to rise is the moment a new life begins, whether others believe in you or not, whether your past tries to pull you back or not, whether fear knocks on your door or not, because invention is not for the chosen few. It is for the ones who choose. The decision is yours now. And always, identity is the foundation of transformation, because, well, life will always move of who you believe you are. People chase success with the wrong approach. They try to change their outcomes without changing themselves. They set goals but never shift their mindset. They want a new life while holding on to the same beliefs that created their old one. This is why they feel stuck, repeating the same patterns year after year. Real change does not begin with action, it begins with identity. You don't need more motivation, you don't need another strategy, you don't even need more resources, you need a new belief about who you are and what you're capable of. You are not limited by your potential, you are limited by your identity. Every identity is built either intentionally or accidentally. Most people unconsciously build theirs based on past experiences, failures, labels, trauma, and opinions from others. Growing up, someone might have told you that you weren't smart enough, athletic enough, talented enough, or capable enough, and without realizing it, you accepted those beliefs as truth. You might have been rejected once and decided you are not worthy of love. You might have failed once and decided you are not good enough. You might have struggled financially and decided you are not meant for success. These are not facts, they are identities built around fear. And as long as you carry them, you sabotage your own growth because you cannot consistently act in a way that is inconsistent with how you see yourself. Identity shapes behavior. If you believe you are lazy, you will act lazy. If you believe you are bad with money, you will avoid financial responsibility. If you believe you will always struggle, you will ignore opportunities. If you believe you are unworthy, you will settle for relationships that hurt you. On the other hand, when you upgrade your identity, everything changes. When you see yourself as disciplined, you take control over your habits. When you see yourself as confident, you start taking risks. When you see yourself as a learner, you stop fearing failure. When you see yourself as powerful, you stop shrinking yourself for others. Identity is not fixed, it is a choice you reinforce every day through your thoughts, words, and actions. The greatest barrier to reinvention is not lack of skill, it is attachment to an old self. You are not struggling because of who you are struggling because of who you think you are. Deep down you want to grow, but your subconscious is still loyal to your past. This is why people sabotage themselves when life begins to improve. They get into a healthy relationship, but ruin it because they still believe they are unlovable. They start making money but waste it because they still believe they are broke. They begin healing but return to toxic cycles because pain feels familiar. The subconscious mind will always pull you back to the identity you believe is home, even if it is destroying you. Until you redefine who you are, you will remain stuck in cycles you claim to hate. Reinvention demands that you let go of the old labels and write a new story. Identity is not something you discover, it is something you design. But the process requires consistency. You must speak the new identity. You must act in alignment with it. You must prove it to yourself through daily behavior. At first, your old identity will fight back. You will feel discomfort, doubt, and resistance because change threatens your comfort zone. But repetition rewires belief. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity strengthens. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, your identity upgrades. You begin to trust yourself. You become your own proof. To change your identity, you must first speak it, then behave like it, even before you fully believe it. Confidence comes from evidence. Discipline comes from repetition. Power comes from alignment. Decide who you are becoming, then live it before you become it. The world will try to judge you by your past, but never allow someone who gave up on their dream to talk you out of yours. Your old identity will try to chain you to who you used to be, but you must choose to break free and create a new standard for your life. Because once identity shifts, transformation is no longer a dream, its inevitable pain is one of the most powerful forces in life. It is the kind of force that can break a person down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But it is also the same force that can rebuild a person into someone stronger, wiser, and unshakable. The difference is not in the pain itself, but in what you choose to do with it. Most people run from pain. They avoid it, suppress it, and numb themselves with distractions, addictions, and temporary comfort. But pain never disappears just because you ignore it. It waits, it grows, it controls you from the shadows. The only way to transform your life is not by escaping pain, but by alchemizing it, by turning it into purpose, fuel, and power. There comes a moment in life when pain becomes too heavy to carry silently. You might have experienced betrayal from people you trusted. You might have lost someone you cared about deeply. You might have failed at something that mattered to you. You might wake up feeling lost, empty, misunderstood, or exhausted from fighting silent battles that no one else knows about. And no matter how strong you try to appear, something inside you knows the truth. You are not okay. But here is the secret: pain is not your enemy. Pain is your catalyst. It is your wake-up call. It is the universe telling you that something must change, that you can no longer continue living the same way, thinking the same way, and tolerating what you once accepted. Pain forces honesty. It strips away illusions and exposes reality. It reveals who is really there for you and who never was. It shows you what habits are destroying you. It reminds you of what truly matters. When you are comfortable, you ignore the truth. But when you are hurting, you finally see what needs to change. Pain demands transformation, it demands evolution, it demands a response. And in that moment, you have two choices. You can let pain define you, or you can let it refine you. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you better. You can let it close your heart, or you can let it deepen your strength. Most of the greatest people who ever achieved anything meaningful did not rise from comfort, they rose from pain. They built greatness not from privilege, but from resilience. They turned heartbreak into art. They turned loss into legacy. They turned suffering into strength. The difference between those who rise and those who break is not what they went through, but how they chose to respond. Pain is energy, and energy can be redirected. When you stop feeling sorry for yourself and start asking, what is this pain trying to teach me, everything changes. Growth begins the moment you begin to learn from your wounds instead of reliving them. Pain is not meant to paralyze you, it is meant to prepare you. It prepares you for responsibility. It prepares you for gratitude. It prepares you for discipline. It prepares you for a higher purpose. The strongest minds, the greatest hearts, and the most powerful spirits were built in darkness, not light. They didn't just survive pain. They used it as a tool. They used it to build focus. They used it to build hunger. They used it to build emotional intelligence. They used it to fuel their comeback. When you carry pain without purpose, it crushes you. When you attach purpose to pain, it empowers you. If you want to reinvent yourself in 2025, you must stop avoiding pain and face it directly. You must feel what you have tried to numb. You must talk about what you have tried to bury. You must confront the emotional patterns that control your thoughts, reactions, and choices. Healing is not about forgetting what happened. Healing is about transforming what happened into wisdom. Your pain is part of your story, but it is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, a stronger version of you, a wiser version of you. Stop asking why this happened to you and start asking how this will build you. The purpose of pain is not to break you, but to wake you up to the power that lives inside you. Feeling stuck is one of the most frustrating emotions a person can experience. You wake up each day knowing you are capable of more, yet somehow everything stays the same. You want to grow, but you keep ending up in the same cycles. You try to move forward, but something pulls you back. The truth is, people don't stay stuck because they lack potential. They stay stuck because they live inside repetitive patterns that shape their actions, emotions, and identity. These patterns are invisible traps formed over time, habits of thinking, emotional reactions, behaviors, and beliefs that operate automatically, keeping life predictable, familiar, and painfully unchanged. Most people try to change their lives by focusing only on results. They say they want success, better relationships, better health, better finances, but they try to achieve these outcomes while still being controlled by the same patterns that created their struggles. They set goals without changing behavior. They change behavior without changing mindset. They try to change mindset without changing environment. They want to grow but stay surrounded by people who drain their energy. They want discipline but continue letting comfort control their choices. They want confidence but feed themselves self-doubt. You cannot escape a life you are unconsciously repeating. Every transformation requires awareness, and awareness begins with recognizing your patterns. The pattern often starts in the mind, with the thoughts you choose to entertain. If your inner voice constantly repeats, "I'm not ready," "What if I fail?" "What will people think?" maybe tomorrow. You will always hesitate. Hesitation becomes procrastination. Procrastination becomes guilt. Guilt becomes stress. Stress becomes escape through distractions, unhealthy habits, and short-term comfort. That cycle is a pattern. It repeats again and again until you finally break it by choosing action over avoidance. Patterns can also be emotional. Some people live trapped in overthinking, fear, anger, or the need for validation. They react instead of respond. They take things personally, argue to protect their ego, or stay in toxic environments because as they fear being alone. Emotional patterns lead to destructive choices. A person who uses anger as a defense mechanism will push good people away. A person who needs validation will lose themselves trying to please others. A person who fears rejection will avoid opportunities and stay silent when they should speak. These emotional patterns are prisons, but they are prisons with open doors. Freedom comes the moment you choose a different response. Then there are behavioral patterns, habits that shape your future without you even realizing it. Discipline is a habit. Laziness is also a habit. Success is a habit. Failure is also a habit. Your life does not rise to the level of your goals, it falls to the level of your patterns. If you scroll instead of study, complain instead of improve, react instead of plan, and avoid rather than confront, your life will reflect those habits. You cannot wish your way to success, you must pattern your way there. Your routines either build your dream or destroy it, and every small decision compounds over time. The most dangerous patterns, however, are beliefs. Beliefs are like software that runs your entire system. If your beliefs are outdated, your life will be outdated. If you believe you don't deserve success, you will sabotage it. If you believe you always struggle, you will attract struggle. If you believe you are powerless, you will never act with power. Beliefs are formed by repetition, emotion, and experience. The good news is that anything learned can be unlearned, and anything unlearned can be replaced with a stronger belief. Growth is impossible without belief transformation. Breaking patterns requires three things: awareness, rejection, and replacement. Awareness means identifying the habits, thoughts, and emotions that hold you back. Rejection means refusing to repeat them no matter how comfortable or familiar they feel. Replacement means installing new habits, thoughts, and emotions that align with the life you want. It will feel uncomfortable at first, even painful, because the old identity will try to drag you back. But growth does not come from comfort. Growth comes from discipline. The pattern breaks the moment you stop negotiating with your old self and start demanding alignment with your future self. You will not rise by accident. You will rise by breaking the loops that keep you average and by building patterns that shape greatness. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Most people think success comes from moments of motivation, bursts of inspiration, or lucky opportunities. But the truth is that none of those things are reliable. Motivation is inconsistent. Inspiration fades. Opportunity means nothing if you're not prepared to use it. What separates people who transform their lives from those who remain stuck is not talent or intelligence. It is discipline. Discipline is the ability to act based on commitment rather than emotion. It is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It is mastering yourself, not just your goals. The problem is most people wait until they feel ready before they take action. They wait for the right mindset, the right moment, or perfect clarity. But waiting is the enemy of reinvention. If you only work when you feel motivated, you will achieve nothing meaningful because your emotions are not built for consistency. Your emotions want comfort. Your emotions want safety. Your emotions want rest, but your future requires effort. Your dream requires work. Discipline is the mechanism that moves you from excuses to execution. Discipline is not a talent. It is a habit. It is not something you are born with. It is something you build. Every day you make small decisions that either strengthen your discipline or weaken it. Every time you hit snooze instead of getting up, you weaken your discipline. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your discipline. Every time you let distraction win over progress, you weaken your discipline. But the opposite is also true. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you build discipline. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you build discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you build discipline. Discipline is built brick by brick, action by action, day by day. Reinvention requires discipline because growth is uncomfortable. The habits, behaviors, and mindset that got you here will not get you to your next level. To change your life, you must upgrade your standards. You must stop settling for average effort and start demanding excellence from yourself. You must set rules for your life, non-negotiables that shape your success. If greatness is your goal, you need consistent routines that align with your future. Winners don't rely on willpower, they design systems. They don't wait for the right mood, they follow a schedule. They don't chase motivation, they build momentum. The purpose of discipline is not to restrict your life, it is to liberate it. When you are disciplined, you gain control over your time, your energy, your thoughts, and your results. Discipline also builds self-respect. Most people don't struggle with self-worth because of their past, they struggle because they don't trust themselves. Deep down, they know they quit too early. They know they avoid challenges. They know they betray their own goals. But discipline changes that. Discipline proves to yourself that you can be trusted. Every time you do hard things, your confidence grows because you stop seeing yourself as weak. You stop doubting your own potential. You stop fearing challenges. You become someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who creates results. You earn your own respect through disciplined action. One of the biggest myths about discipline is that it means a life without joy, but the opposite is true. Lack of discipline leads to pain, regret, frustration, anxiety, low energy, wasted potential, and a life full of what-ifs. Discipline creates freedom. It gives you the freedom to build wealth, to improve your health, to protect your peace, and to design your future. Pain is inevitable, but you get to choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One is temporary, the other lasts a lifetime. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to build your dream for you. There is no magic shortcut. There is only daily action. If you want to reinvent yourself in 2025, commit to discipline. Make progress every day, even if it is small. Take responsibility for your decisions. Keep your promises. Do the work whether you feel like it or not. Success is not built in a day, but it is built daily. Discipline is the key that unlocks your next level. Letting go is one of the hardest parts of reinvention, yet it is the most important. You cannot step into a new life while holding on to the weight of the old one. You cannot climb while carrying baggage from your past. You cannot evolve if you stay emotionally attached to the people, habits, beliefs, and environments that are holding you back. Reinvention requires release, the courage to let go of what is no longer aligned with your future. But letting go is not easy because what holds you back often feels familiar, comfortable, and safe. The mind craves certainty even if that certainty is painful. So instead of choosing change, people choose to stay stuck in what they know. They stay loyal to their past because they fear the unknown future. But growth does not exist in familiarity. It only happens when you step into the unknown and trust your ability to adapt and rise. Letting go starts with people. Some people are not meant to stay with you forever. Some are seasonal. Some are lessons. Some are mirrors that reflect who you used to be. As you grow, you will outgrow certain relationships, friends who don't support your dreams, environments where you feel misunderstood, conversations that limit your thinking, and social circles that celebrate average instead of ambition. Staying around the wrong people kills more dreams than failure ever will. It is impossible to think big in a room full of small minds. You must be willing to distance yourself from negativity, drama, and people who drain your energy, not because you think you're better than them, but because you are finally choosing peace over chaos, growth over gossip, and purpose over popularity. Letting go also means releasing your old habits, the ones that kept you comfortable but not fulfilled. You cannot take procrastination into your future. You cannot take laziness, excuses, self-doubt, inconsistency, or emotional chaos into the life you want. You cannot step into greatness with the habits of someone ordinary. Your habits reflect your standards, and your standards must rise if your life is going to rise. Reinvention demands self-respect, and self-respect is shown through discipline. If a habit does not serve you, it is destroying you. Every day you must ask yourself, does this action bring me closer to who I want to become, or does it keep me trapped in who I used to be? Reinvention is not just about learning new things, it is also about unlearning what no longer serves you. Letting go also means leaving behind limiting beliefs, the internal lies that sabotage your growth. These beliefs were created by fear, by past failure, by childhood programming, and by people who never believed in themselves. Maybe you were told you weren't smart or strong or talented enough. Maybe you convinced yourself that success is for others but not for you. Maybe you think you're too old, too late, too broken, or too behind. But none of that is real. These are stories you once accepted, not truths you must continue living. Your future cannot be built with the mindset of your past. You must rewrite your beliefs. You must choose to believe in your ability to change your life. Reinvention becomes possible the moment you say, I choose a new story. Letting go is also emotional. You must release anger, resentment, betrayal, guilt, and shame. These emotions poison your ability to grow. Carrying resentment keeps the wound open. Carrying bitterness keeps you connected to pain. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean accepting what was done to you. It means choosing freedom. It means no longer allowing the past to control your mind, your peace, or your future. You cannot heal while holding on to pain. You cannot rise while replaying old memories. You must feel it, learn from it, and release it. Letting go may be painful, but staying stuck in a life that doesn't fulfill you is far more painful. Reinvention requires sacrifice. You must let go of who you were to become who you were meant to be. The version of you that will thrive in 2025 will not be the same version that survived 2024. Evolution requires transformation, and transformation requires release. You must choose progress over comfort, purpose over fear, and your future over your past. This is not abandonment, it is alignment. Letting go is not losing, it is making space for what you truly deserve.